I'm Lorelei, and the artist I chose was Leonora Carrington. I'm really sorry in advance. This essay is really long, but I had so much to say when I was writing my script. I couldn't cut anything out because I feel like everything that I have to say is important about these paintings. So I am apologizing in advance for the length, and it's probably going to be really irritating to watch. But her art is really good, so. She was a British-Mexican surrealist painter and novelist. She lived most of her life in Mexico City and was one of the last surviving participants in the surrealist movement of the 1930s. She was born April 6, 1917 in Lancashire, England, and she passed away May 25th, 2011 in Mexico City. She was expelled from 2 schools for rebellious behavior until her family sent her to Florence, where she attended Mrs. Penrose's Academy of Art. In 1927, at the age of 10, she saw her first surrealist painting in a left bank gallery in Paris and later met many other surrealists. And after she read Herbert Read's book, Surrealism, she was fascinated with it. Then she became a famous artist worth tens of millions of dollars. The first artwork I'm going to talk about is a self-portrait titled Inn of the Dawn Horse. It was made in 1937. And out of the 5 pieces that I'm going to talk about, this one's my top favorite, so I had to just put it in first. So you can see her sitting on a blue and a red chair, and she's gesturing towards a lactating hyena. You can see if you look out the window in the back, there's a white horse running around, and also if you look behind her, there's a levitating, rocking horse. And this painting, she's reflecting on her identity. If you look at the chair she's sitting on, it's very plush, very nice. If you look at the arms of the chair, it is human hands. And if you look at the feet of the chair, it's human feet. The feet match the same heels that she's wearing in a different color, and the hands are the same as hers, the slender fingers and all that. And the chair represents her femininity. And it even matches the same shade of lipstick she's wearing in the painting. But you can see that the chair is really uncomfortable and it's too small for her, or she's just outgrown it or never liked it. And you can tell this because of the way she draws herself sitting there. She's really stiff and kind of awkward, braced down against the floor. And when I first saw this painting, I was like, maybe this girl's messed up because this isn't what somebody looks like when they're sitting. This just looks weird. That was my first instinctual thought. And then I did my research and found out that that was purposeful, and I just thought that was sick. I loved that so much. I love those little details in paintings, and I feel like she is such a great artist for adding those small details. And as you see that she's sitting uncomfortably in this chair that represents her femininity, so therefore it represents her rejecting femininity and wanting to not be so feminine and go against the rules that she was given as a kid of how she's supposed to be like. She doesn't feel comfortable with traditional femininity. And instead you can see she's dressed for riding and wears jodhpurs and a normal shirt and jacket. Her hair and her shirt also match the colors of the hyena. She associates herself with the hyena, and you can see that by looking at their eyes. The hyena has blue human eyes and she has yellow animal eyes. And looking down at her teats, she's lactating, and that further associates it with femininity. She is separating herself from it, gesturing towards it, but it never leaves her as it's in her eyes. She's rejecting these feminine standards, and instead, she's conjuring up new things. And she did conjure up a new creature with a desire for freedom, which represents her, which is the white horse that's in the background in the window. And I just love this painting because there's so many hidden details that I never noticed before. And I like that this painting shows that no matter how much she wants to reject the feminine code she was raised with, she's always going to have that be a part of her, looking at her eyes. I think this piece is very interesting and very powerful, along with all of her other works. And a question I have about it is, I want to figure out what the rocking horse is meant to represent, and why is it floating? Alright, so the next painting I'm going to talk about is her piece called The Meal of Lord Candlestick. It was created in 1940, and even just looking at the name, it's really interesting looking. And if you look in the painting, there's a whole lot going on. This took me a little bit to go through. There are a lot of different odd-looking characters surrounding the table, and the table's covered in even more weird-looking foods. She made this painting after she escaped her life in England to begin her affair with a man named Max Ernst. And fun fact, he divorced his wife to go run away with her, which I thought was kind of interesting. She's using this painting to show her rejection of her strict Roman Catholic upbringing. In the title, she uses the nickname Lord Candlestick to refer to her strict father. And using that in the title, she's emphasizing her dismissal of her father. And the scene in the painting is meant to be something like communion, but she transforms the religious symbolism into something completely barbaric. Like, if you look to the right, you can see a female form being thing is eating a male infant who's just lying on the table. Some historians think that the table represents one of the grand banquet halls in the estate where she grew up. I like this piece because of all the things going on. There's just so much happening, and it just looks really cool, like gnarly looking. Like, I just think it looks neat. And this painting was harder for me to like find meaning in it because there's so much going on. So it took a really long time to put the pieces together and get some kind of baseline for what I think it could be about. But after doing all that, I just determined that the painting itself was just about her escaping her upbringing. All right, the next painting is called The Giantess, or The Guardian of the Egg. It was made in 1947, and in this painting, you can see the same themes that we're starting to see in her other works, just transformation and femininity. And the main person in the painting is the large female figure standing in the middle. She has a red dress and a light green cape. She's towering over all the people in life below her. She has small, detailed animals painted on her dress, and 2 geese are emerging from behind her cape, and she's holding a small egg. And the egg represents new life and birth, and on the ground there's animals living and people foraging, and the geese surrounding her and like in the sky and all that could be a symbol of travel and migration and coming home because of her Irish ancestry. The painting also has a lot of marine life in it. The way that the painting merges with the sky and the water, it represents her belief that art can blend worlds and her surrealist ideas. This painting was really odd to research and look at, and I was having a hard time figuring out what was going on. But I think it's really awesome, and I like all of the like symbolism with the animals and how it connects back to her ancestry. I think that's really cool. All right, the next painting is called The Lovers. It was made in 1987. This painting gave me so much trouble. I was having the hardest time to find information about this painting, and looking at it myself, I really couldn't tell what was happening. It was so hard to find things about it, and like there are so many components in this painting. So there, like in the background, there's a white horse. It's similar to the one in her self-portrait, so I think that might mean something, but I don't know. And there's multiple clothed people with black masks and upside-down crosses on their necklaces. One of them has a vase on their head for some reason. There's a bowl on the floor. There's a wolf with 2 sticks with a red sock, and it's walking towards someone holding a bag. And then to the right, there's just animals sitting around and a couple in the bed. And what does this mean? So I'm doing some research and some more research and some more research, and I didn't find much, but I did find that some of them, some of the themes in this painting are like love. Obviously, it's called The Lovers, and there's a lot of elements of the occult, alchemy, and myth, which reflects her interest in mystical traditions. And there's just so many different components to this artwork, and it's very intriguing. But out of the 5, it is my least favorite just because of it's not so meaningful to me. Not as meaningful as like her self-portrait was. So the last painting that I'm going to talk about is called Birdbath. It was made in 1974. This painting is a lot creepier than her other paintings. It looks really ominous. There's dark gray clouds in the background, And looking at the house in the back, it's her childhood home called Crookie Hall. The structure of the house in the background appears to be like two-dimensional, kind of like what you would see in a play, and it's decorated with a bird. Right in the front, there's an elderly woman in black clothes, and people believe that the figure is a representation of her at an older age. She's spraying red paint onto a bird that looks like it's really surprised to be sprayed in it, and it looks like that she's trying to portray baptism, looking at the water basin the bird is in, and the very white cloth that the other person is holding. The other person is just completely in black, and she's wearing a mask that's similar to a plague doctor, and people believe that the bird may be symbolic of the dove of the Holy Spirit, and the entire painting is just creepy looking. I feel like it's meant to show her growing as a person and an artist, as she has grown from a girl to an old lady, but she still maintains her creative abilities. I think this painting is just weird looking. It isn't my favorite out of the 5, but it's still really cool to look at. And I really love the expressions that she's giving these characters, especially the bird getting sprayed in red, because if you look into his eyes, he looks like shocked. I think that's really fascinating. Alright, so to finish this, Leonora Carrington was a very talented surrealist painter. She had lots of popular novels and very meaningful paintings. Throughout the paintings that she's made, she had recurring themes of divine femininity, transformation, and religion. I really loved her self-portrait the most, if you couldn't tell. I love the details of the chair and her stance on the chair. That was so cool to me. Like, genuinely, I'm getting excited talking about it because I just think that's the coolest freaking thing you could do. And I love her work, and I love the story behind each one. And she's had a wild life, from escaping her home in Britain to running away with a man who divorced his wife for her. She's just fascinating, and she's putting her life in these paintings, and I just think that's really interesting and cool. So I hope that somebody else is, I hope you're as excited as I am about these. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm very excited right now to talk about them. And, yeah, so thank you.